One of my favorite things about Desmos is the dashboard view for the teacher. So this is an activity I did with 7th graders earlier this year around March, and I can still see their data. So even though we worked on this a while ago, I can still see their data. I did use the anonymize button. So these aren't the real student names, these are mathematicians' names. But if I turn that off, I can see whose is whose. But for privacy in this video, that's why that's on. But I can still see everything that they did in this lesson. So it helps you as a teacher to stay in the moment, that you can give that immediate feedback on the particular screens and tasks that they're working on if you're doing this activity live. But it saves and stores all that information, so then you can look at this formative data afterwards to see how students did. So you can open a specific screen for a student and see what they did on that screen and how they responded to that particular question. If the question is set to correct or incorrect, and it doesn't, oh, yep, like on this screen right here, this particular question had been marked by the teacher to indicate which ones were correct and which ones are incorrect. Now I can see who answered correctly, that's the check marks, who answered incorrectly, and then who just didn't answer at all. So I can see all that information, and I can look one at a time at student answers. So I can go to that screen at any point. I can go back to that summary page. I can look at one student at a time by just arrowing down to look at exactly how they responded to that particular page. But all that data remains there. This dashboard is also live while you are teaching. So you have a few things that you can look at. So you can look at the teacher page for that particular task. And I'm going to go back. This was the little check-in. I love these little SEL check-ins. You can go back to, you can look at the teacher view and you can see all of the students responding at one time. And then you can also look at the student view, and this is exactly how it's presented to the students. So if you needed to model something, you could share your screen and you could model how to interact with the tools that are on that page, and you can respond exactly as a student responds. As the teacher, you can also choose, oh, I want to share a few of these responses with my class. You can click on whose you want to share, and now you have this option to share the snapshot. So again, share your screen, they can see these few options. You can also choose to save the album. So if you were looking at this data after class is over, you can choose those selections that you want, click Save Album, and then it goes to the snapshots page. So if you wanted to look at this the next day to go over and critique student work or to give some feedback or do some reteaching, then any of those pages where you had, or screens where you had selected some student work, would all be on this snapshots view. And that way you could share out certain things that you wanted to critique or you wanted to give more reteaching or support for the next day as a follow-up. So there's so much incredible data that's both live to you while you're working and that's available to you forever until you delete this dashboard about the student information. And you can also share your dashboard with others, so you can invite other teachers on your team to be able to look at this, or an administrator or a coach or someone else that might be supporting you with analyzing the data or learning from this experience. You can share that dashboard. They can see it live as you're doing it, or you can share it with them after the fact so that they can look at the student input with you. Thanks for learning.